Hello, I'm Susanna Liller, and welcome to my series on the heroine's journey, where it can lead you just about anywhere, the heroine's journey, but I believe that it's about finding your happiness, what makes you truly happy, whatever that might be for you. It's different for everybody. I think you need to let your heart guide you and to listen to your intuition, which this particular video is about me listening in a big way to my intuition. But ultimately, again, I believe the journey is about finding true happiness. And maybe there's something in this particular video that will give you a clue that will help you find yours. You might remember that I began this year, 2023, with the intention of learning more about the sacred feminine, the eternal feminine, the divine feminine, however you want to refer to the feminine principle in the world. Actually, today I heard it described as the solar feminine, and I called it a pilgrimage to acquire this understanding about it. And I said it was going to be an armchair pilgrimage, a stay-at-home, in-place journey, which it has been. Here's how I wrote about it in my blog in January. If you've been following the winding path of my blog and videos starting this January 2023, I've declared that I'm on a stay-at-home pilgrimage. I'm studying and learning about the sacred feminine. I'm going to continue with this theme, I wrote, until either the enormity of the task does me in, quite possibly, or completely overwhelms me, more than likely, or until it leads me to, well, who knows what. This is truly a journey into the unknown. And side note, it has been. I've invited you all to come along. Thank you for being here. I hope we all learn something. It has been a stay-at-home journey, my home in Maine, until now. I'm in Chicago, the Windy City, and I'll be sharing with you my travelogue to date. Today is Sunday, August 13th. I was off to the airport. Actually, no, yesterday was Sunday. Yesterday was Sunday, August 13th. And no, okay. So do you see the state I'm in? 2 days ago, August 13th, Sunday, off to the airport, 3:30 a.m. My husband drove me. I was off to the Parliament of the World's Religions. And why did I get on an airplane and go to Chicago that early in the morning? Because of Jean Shinoda Bolin, MD. I had interviewed her for my podcast, and she said, I'm going to the Parliament of the World's Religions, which I had never heard of before. And she said, you should come. And it was like a bell rang inside of me, and I decided to look it up, and I ended up coming here. So she, just a quick note, is a psychiatrist, a Jungian analyst, an internationally known speaker, and author of 13 very influential books, over 100 foreign editions, The Tao of Psychology, Goddesses in Every Woman, Gods in Every Man, Ring of Power, Crossing to Avalon, Close to the Bone, Moving Toward the Millionth Circle. She's very well known, Distinguished Life Fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, very much a star of this particular event that I'm at for this week. So she was the one that got me here. And what's the Parliament? Well, I found this out. I didn't really know much about it when I signed up. I knew it was a week-long conference, but it started at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. And here's from the website. The Parliament it's a nonprofit organization headquartered in Chicago, has a mission of justice, peace, and sustainability. And it serves as the convener of the world's largest, most diverse and inclusive interfaith convening of people of faith, spirituality, and goodwill. And I don't know how wonderful it is to be here and be among a group of people that's their intention, to be among other people of faith, spirituality, and goodwill. Its origins, as I mentioned, rooted in the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. And the historic first convening of the World Parliament of Religions created a global, this is from their website, platform for engagement of religions of the East and West, and was thereafter recognized as the birthplace of the modern interfaith movement. So my being here is a result of this completely intuitive response. When I caught up with Dr. Bolin here at a workshop on her book about the millionth circle. So that was yesterday, which was Monday. Let me just say her book, The Millionth Circle, is a metaphoric use of looking at the more circles people form, it tips the scales and shifts planetary consciousness. The phrase comes from her book, The Millionth Circle, and it started as a group of women who since 2001 have volunteered their time to hold this vision of the importance of their participation in monthly circles, virtual circles, and in-person circles, where a deepening of the circle experience occurs, where the intention is to deeply listen to each other and be heard. And so I met her at this particular workshop, and I had to remind her who I was, because I'm sure she has many people who have asked to interview her for their podcast. And I had to kind of make my way in. She's everywhere I've seen her so far this week. She's been surrounded by people, by admirers in her fan club. And I said, I was the one who called you 3 times. I wasn't giving up. I really wanted to speak with you. So I kept calling. And after the 3rd call, you called me back. You called me on the phone. And she looked at me and she remembered and she said, synchronicity. And it certainly was. And this whole trip has been about synchronicity. Upon arriving, again, that was Sunday, this is Tuesday, and exploring this huge complex where the Parliament's being held, McCormick Place, Lakeside Center in Chicago. Somebody said to me it's the largest conference center in the world. One of the first people I met was a woman named Susanna, of course. And she gave me some great information to be sure to do this, to be sure to do that. With so much going on, somehow I've been able to be in the right place at the right time to get just what I needed and to hear valuable information. And I have 2 more days to go, but I just wanted to share a couple things. The first day, Monday, there was a plenary. It was the opening ceremony for everyone to attend, a big event. And I've heard that 6,000 people are here, 90 nations are present. And the huge auditorium was filled and there were many speakers. It was a 2-hour thing. Important notables like the mayor of Chicago and the governor of the state and the attorney general of the state, and all welcoming us, giving their kudos that we would gather and spend time for the mission of the Parliament, and that there would be so many people interested in faith and creating a better world coming together. It was very inspiring, and we got through several speakers, and finally heard from a woman from the Baha'i faith, and I heard the woman next to me say, "Why are the women always at the end?" And she was right. I had been wondering, where are the women? And there were a few at the end, maybe one, a little bit of woman earlier on. There were actually, I counted out of the 20 speakers, 4 were women. And this woman from Sweden had a clergy collar on, and I wished her well and went on my way, but kept that question in my head: where were the women? I did find them later on in the day in a workshop called Celebrating Women's Spiritual Leadership Across Generations with Kathleen Schaff and Kay Lindahl of the Listening Center. And it's all about encouraging younger women and elders like me to connect and have authentic conversations in small circles. And Kathy Schaaf, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is co-founder of Women of Spirit and Faith, where she serves on the core circle, and it's all about getting women together in circles and having genuine conversations. And it was in that group of people, women, that there was a woman who raised her hand and said, "I need to tell you about my app. It's called the divinefeminineapp.com. Who knew that there was an app for what I was exploring? So, of course, I'm going to check that out. And then that day, I ended up in very familiar territory. I listened to a panel talk about the labyrinth as a tool for individual and group transformation. And it was presented by Veriditas.org. This was an organization founded by Dr. Reverend Lauren Artress in 1995. She was my teacher, my coach, actually, spiritual coach. And this was all about inspiring personal and planetary change and renewal using the labyrinth. And Dr. Artress was the person who brought the labyrinth back to the fore of cultural awareness and experience, because the labyrinth has been with us for thousands of years, but it comes and goes. And I listened to this panel discussion and heard about how it's being used. Listening to Judith Tripp, was one of the panelists, made me really want to go to Chartres Cathedral in France again to walk that amazing, I call it the mothership of all labyrinths, for one of her women's retreats. I'm going to get there again. So I would say the theme for Monday for me was circles, which, if you know me, that will not come as a surprise. But Tuesday morning, this is Tuesday, I was on a mission. I knew that Ama Shri Karunamai, I think I'm pronouncing that right, was to offer a meditation at 8, and I wanted to be there. I had read this description in the program, which went, whether you are an experienced meditator interested in deepening your practice, or new to meditation and yearning for a richer experience of your own divinity, being in the divine presence of Ama Shri Karunamai is healing, transformative, and spiritually uplifting. Ama gives Shaktipa, the transmission of divine spiritual energy, which can promote spiritual awakening and higher levels of self-perception. Well, I'll tell you, I wanted some of that. And I had heard about Shaktipa from all my years of spiritual exploration. And my understanding was usually you'd have to go to an ashram or some retreat to be present to someone like this guru who was giving it. And here she was, giving it. So I was there early. Several women were just watching. The preparation was amazing. They prepared the place for her, for where she would be sitting. She surrounded it with flowers. They surrounded it with flowers. Lilies and roses were brought in. The lilies smelled amazing. They placed them around her chair, and they were all women, beautiful women, a few men. But to me, I thought, I wish that Swedish minister was there, because here are the women surrounding, getting ready for another woman who's known as a living saint. So she came, she spoke, we meditated with her. In all honesty, I will tell you, it was hard to understand her with her accent, but it didn't matter, because her presence was calming and brought peace. She was beautiful. And then she invited us up to get the blessing, her Shaktipa. I think there was probably 200 people there. And there was a process. It reminded me, a Protestant going up for communion. We were invited one at a time to go up, wait in line, and then sit before her, bow our heads. And she put her hand on my head. We put her hand on my forehead. And everything else just slipped away. I just wanted to stay there with her. I didn't want to go, what everyone was doing, find the next workshop, search around for it in this huge place. I just wanted to stay and watch her give her blessing to everyone, watch them go, watch their reaction. I probably just stayed there for 3 hours, sitting there and watching it. And it was beautiful, and it was holy. So now I'm in my room again, talking to you. I feel like here I, on a whim, really traveled to Chicago to attend this conference that I didn't know much about. And I got this big dose of the divine feminine. And I'm so grateful. I let my intuition guide me. And now I wonder what's next, but I think I could go home and be happy with what has already transpired. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you get anything out of these videos, subscribe, then you'll be sure to get the next one. I do them every 2 weeks. And I think I'm going to continue on this trail of the sacred feminine. Surely what has happened to me today has advanced me, and I'm not quite sure how yet, but I will let you know. Thank you for being here.